that I read a book and it was talking about this like Japanese saying of basically every single moment only happens one time in your life, whether it's good or bad, and so every moment is beautiful.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from across the entire spectrum of non-monogamy to hear their fascinating stories. We strive to bring guests on the show who have a healthy approach to non-monogamy. However, it's important to remember that everyone does it a little bit differently, and the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we produce this show for entertainment purposes only. Please be aware that we aren't doctors or therapists. Consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 174. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have a beautiful, heartwarming story with Bella and Jase. They're high school sweethearts, and they've been exploring non-monogamy for about 6 years.
Yeah, and it's just like Emma said, it's a great story of these two sort of finding themselves, finding who they were, and then growing into that and really just starting to explore an amazing journey together. So Thank you to them for coming on. And they also have a podcast.
They do.
And they've built some really cool games around like icebreakers and exploring non-monogamy. And you can find all of that information at their website, the number 4OURPLAY.com.
Yep.
But don't worry about trying to remember that. There are links in the show notes to our show at normalizingnonmonogamy.com and in the podcast notes of your podcast player. There's direct links to get over there and see photos of them and learn about all the stuff they're doing. Yeah. So check out our website for the show notes and you'll find everything you need to know about them.
Or your little podcast player like Finn said.
Yeah.
So first up, before we jump into their interview, as always, a few announcements. Our next virtual meet and greet is, not March. It's already almost the end of March. April 17th. That's a Saturday, April 17th from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Now, if you're not familiar with a virtual meet and greet, what we do with these events is we can bring everyone into a big Zoom room. We do some icebreakers, get to know each other very briefly, and then we go into small little breakout rooms where you get a chance to talk with a smaller group of people. We give you a fun question to chat about, and then you're brought back into the main room. We scramble the rooms and do it all again. These are open to anyone. We have a wide, diverse range of people that join, and it is amazing. We had over 40 people last time, and we're hoping for even more this time. So they're $10 to join. Go to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, and click on the Meet and Greet tab to sign up. And just a really quick build on what Emma said, they're open to anybody. You don't have to be in a couple or a quad or a triad. They're open to solo people as well. So if you're looking for a way to meet other people and build some community, this is one good option. Right. The requirement is that you have to be open-minded and awesome. Yeah. Or at least on the track to becoming awesome. Sure. Yes. Also, we wanted to just say a huge shout out. Thank you to our over 160 members of Patreon. If you're interested in building community, we're going to talk more about this in the outro, but we wanted to throw a couple dates out there for April. So our April calls are going to be, the men's call is April 20th, the women's call is April 21st, and the Q&A is April 28th. So all those dates are on our website. Just click on the Patreon tab. And also, we'll be talking more about them in the outro. Yeah, and the last thing we just wanted to mention was we know the world is starting to open back up for the explorations of non-monogamy and just in general. So hopefully you've gotten the vaccine. Hopefully you're able to get the vaccine. We're excited for when we can get it. Turns out podcasters who stay at home all day aren't really not really high on the list. We're getting there. We're getting there. So close. As soon as we can get it, we're going to get it. But what we wanted to say about this is if you're starting to get back out there and meet people, we'd highly recommend getting tested for STIs. It's a great time to do it because you probably haven't been super active for the last year. And so it's a great time to come in fresh and get tested. So the way that we do this and the way that we're planning to do this is using a service called stdcheck.com. There are links in the show notes. Using those links help support the show financially, and you get to save $10. It's only $130 for a 10-panel test, and it's super easy. It's discreet. It takes like 10 minutes sometimes. Like we've done it in like 10 minutes or less. In and out. It's super awesome. You don't have to have awkward conversations with your doctor. Anyway, more information about this can be found on our website in the show notes, again, at normalizingnonmonogamy.com.
And again, thank you for the support of the show and for supporting the community by getting tested and being open and having
knowing your status.
Knowing your status. So thank you in advance for that.
And now, let's go. What?
Almost.
What?
We need to let them know that they can reach out to us.
Oh, of course. Go to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. In case we don't say it enough, it is a little bit of a mouthful, but it's also really easy to find. You can click on the Contact Us page. You can send us a voicemail, send us an email. We'd love to hear from all of you, and we do respond to every single one.
Yes. So now, with that,
let's go talk to Bella and Jase. Welcome, Bella and Jase, to the show. We're so excited to have you here, and we can't wait to learn a little bit more about you. We know the high-level overview, I guess, because you did give us some details in your email, but
nobody else read the email,
right?
So maybe we should revisit some of those.
Exactly, I guess. Since people do not know you, do you mind introducing each of yourselves, please?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys so much for having us on the show. I'm Bella.
I'm Jase.
And we have been in the lifestyle now for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
we started dating whenever we were 15. We met in elementary school.
When we were 9.
We were 9. And then we were grade apart. So we met each other through like a little school event. And we never really saw each other again after that until I was in 9th grade and you were in 10th grade. And then we started riding the same bus and we were at the same bus stop. So that's kind of whenever, I guess, our love story started, if you want to call it that.
It's always nice to meet another cougar, huh?
Yeah. Well, see, you think that, but I'm only 6 days older than him.
That's still a 6-day cougar. Yeah, so
that is a valid point. Emma is a 6-month cougar.
Yes, only 6 months, but 6 days is closer.
6 is my favorite number. So that's fun. Anyways, yeah, I heard you guys are high school sweethearts too. Oh no, you guys knew each other in high school. In middle school, right? Yeah.
We did. We waited till we were super mature freshmen in college to start dating. So
you were a freshman too. Well, you were a freshman.
I was a freshman, yeah.
In high school, but we weren't mature yet.
So how did the school bus love story start? And then we'll jump into how did you two start looking into non-monogamy?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is really funny. So in elementary school, how we met was we had a jump rope team. Did you guys have like a jump rope for heart, that kind of thing when you were in school?
No, we went to a really tiny little school.
Not really, no. I've heard of those events, but we did not have them.
Okay. So, well, we had a club like that, and I had just moved from California to this new school, and I had to ride in the car with you because you had been on the team for a while. Anyway, so that's how we first met. And then whenever we saw each other at the bus stop, and he's really good at jump roping. He can do all these really cool tricks. And he can do this thing where he does a helicopter thing and then he jumps like on his butt. Does that make sense? That probably doesn't make sense. But the first thing I asked him was, hey, aren't you that kid who can jump rope really well? Can you still do that thing with your butt?
You said, can you still do that thing with your butt? That was the first thing that you asked me, which I feel like is destiny.
I know, right? It's
so you asked me that, and then I think we just kind of talked about how we knew each other whenever we were younger. Like, hey, you remember that time we did all the jump rope stuff? And then I just feel like one day I asked for your phone number.
Yeah, it was like a month into like the beginning of the year.
And we started talking on IM because we didn't have unlimited text messages. So IM was like the way to go. And we just kind of talked on there and got to know each other better. And then, we would talk more whenever we were together on the bus and in school. And then, I don't know, I guess I asked you to be my girlfriend.
Yeah, this was back whenever, we never like dated or went on a date back then.
No.
It was just like, hey, do you want to be my girlfriend? And
yeah, like through a text message.
Yeah, I was okay, that's
it was rough.
Aim.
You were my first girlfriend. So I was not like smooth by any means. So.
Yeah, and you were, I had like boyfriends in the past, but not really. We were each other's first, pretty much everything. Like first kiss, literally everything.
Everything, yeah.
So that's kind of how everything started. And then we just never broke up and we've just been together ever since.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then you said, oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you mind sharing about how old you are now so that people have some context of how long you've been together?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We were 15 when we first started dating. We're 28 now.
Okay.
Cool.
So, yeah. 15 years.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Sometimes we think,
that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, sometimes we think, whenever we turn 30, we'll have been together as long as we're apart. And that kind of like blows my mind when I think about it.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Uh-huh. And that like we've been together a long time, but we've had a couple of breakups in there.
Well, early in
the process, we were figuring shit out. And so, yeah, that's awesome. So 6 years ago, roughly, you started exploring swinging or the lifestyle. And maybe what was the lead up to that? What was the catalyst for those conversations?
So I guess one day it was more Bella asking me. We had both been curious because, we had never dated anybody else. We were each other's first everything. And I just remember one day we were on a drive because we were going to go see some family or something. We had a long drive. And she said something like, have you ever thought what it would be like to, along the lines of kiss somebody else or something along those lines? And the way that she said it to me, it seemed like she had thought about it. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to be honest. And I said, yeah, of course. Like I've thought about those things. And I don't remember exactly how you responded to that.
I don't remember either exactly. It was just because we didn't even have sex until we were 18. So that was like 3 years into our relationship already. We had never kissed anybody else before. And so in general, I was just curious to know like, oh, like what is it even like to kiss another person or to do anything? And then
that's probably when you were 21.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then we were going to spring break. And then that's when I was like, oh, like maybe, something will happen or maybe we can like try to kiss someone because kids are crazy and on spring break and stuff. And so that's kind of how it led into that. And then prior to even going on spring break we started looking into even just watching porn together and then just kind of opening up in that way because we had never even done anything like that before.
Yeah. And I think a big part of it plays into it is at the very beginning, I was a really, really small person and Bella was a little bit bigger at that point.
Yeah. Well, it's just because we were just very insecure in how we looked. Mm-hmm. And so I remember I didn't even want you looking at a Victoria's Secret commercial because I was so... I don't know if jealous was the word. I guess jealous would be the word. I just like didn't want you looking at other people when I like felt so bad about myself. And so then I went on and this had nothing to do with him, but I had an epiphany at one point. I think I was 20.
Yeah, probably
19 or 20. And then I knew I needed to get healthier. And so I lost quite a bit of weight. And so then I got my confidence. And that's when I was able to ask you, oh, have you ever thought of doing or anything else with anybody?
And I was the same way because I was really small and I put on a bunch of weight. Seeing her like losing weight and trying so hard to like improve herself, I wanted to do that same thing. And so then I feel like we both kind of grew into our own confidence. And whenever we both felt more confident, I think that's kind of when that question arose because we both felt good about ourselves at that point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that makes total sense. Like you have to be in the right mindset to be able to do that. And it's hard if you're insecure about everything. And we're insecure about things all the time. But yeah.
And I think it's amazing that you were able to grow together in that and support each other in that. Like you were doing both trying to work hard and be your best selves, but did it together.
Yeah.
And I think it was nice because neither one of us was doing it for each other. It was both for ourselves, but it was nice to have that almost like accountability partner that was working towards a goal as well. So to have that person to rely on made, I think, the journey towards that way more special too.
Right.
And then I guess, so that's kind of how we got onto that subject. And like she said, we talked about the spring break thing. And so I think we had said that we were fine with us kissing people. And then maybe if like something were to happen with a single girl, maybe we would start doing stuff like there. but that's kind of what we had said was our comfort level with everything. And so then maybe you take up through the first story of any sort of, I guess, that kiss.
Yeah. So on spring break, like this guy came up, he had a British accent. I was like, oh my God, yeah, British. So stupid. So then, I don't know, he was flirting or saying something. And Jase was standing right next to me. And I was like, hey, can I kiss him? And then he was like, yeah, do it. And so then I kissed him. And that was the very first time we ever did anything with another person outside of a relationship. Mm-hmm. And then I kissed some girls because I was curious. And I'm bisexual. So, but at that point, like I hadn't done anything. I didn't know how to do that, but yeah, spring break's crazy. So, kissed some girls, and that was like the first time I flashed people, or the first time we ever saw titties in real life.
Yeah, I had never seen like anybody else naked except you at that point. So I was like, oh, whoa, that's crazy. So it was
so naive. Like it was like it was really different than what we were used to. You didn't do anything with anybody at that point on that spring break trip.
I think I maybe danced with some people, which even at that point was like a huge step in that direction for me. Because I said it had always been Bella for everything. So that even was kind of a crazy first step, I felt like.
Yeah, like dirty. I remember dancing with like a single girl, like she was in the middle, and we were like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And then, so that was spring. And then in the summer, we were planning on going to Vegas and then at this point on the car ride to Vegas, we were talking more about, hey, like, what would it be like to do stuff, like to actually like have sex with somebody else? And so then we looked into what swingers were. I think I remember Googling it. And I was like, we didn't even know what the words were. At this point, we didn't even know the lifestyle was a thing. We just thought people sometimes had sex with other people. And so we thought about going to a club, like a swingers club in Vegas. And there were some topless pools in Vegas at some of those, they call them like day clubs and stuff. But what was the one that we went to?
I think we went to the one at Caesar's Palace. I think it's called Venus Pool.
Yes.
And basically, if you're over 21 and you're staying at the hotel, you're allowed to get into the pool, and women are allowed to be topless. You don't have to be, but that was kind of the idea behind it.
So we went to the pool, and then it took me, no joke, like almost an hour to get enough courage for me to actually get topless. And there was maybe less than 10 people there. There was like barely anybody there, but it was just so new for us. And so then I finally got topless. There was another couple kind of close around, and she ended up getting topless. And then we almost left because we were hanging out for a little while, and then we almost left. And then that couple came over, and they kind of swam over. And they were like, she goes, hey, I just wanted to congratulate you on being topless, or something like that, like something silly. And so then we started talking, and then it led to somehow we are in the same field business-wise, and they also were thinking of going to a swingers club. And they were our age too. And at this point we were 21 or 22.
Yeah.
So that was just all crazy. We were like, what? Like, that's so weird.
And we had said that, so because we had talked about the whole, after we looked up like the lifestyle stuff, we were like, I think that we would be up to something like that happening, but it would have to fall in our lap. Like, I don't want to go out of my way to make that happen. If somehow the universe just puts it in front of us, then like we'll consider it. And so that day we were like, hey, we're going to go to this swinger or to this strip club, because we had gotten this free pass to this strip club. Basically,
we had never been to a strip club either.
Yeah, that was going to be our first time at one of those. So we were going, we invited them, and they said, oh, sorry, we have some friends actually we have to meet up with, so we can't go, but we can meet you later and hang out some more. So we went to dinner, and me and you were talking about like, hey, this actually, like, I don't know if anything's going to happen, but if something were to escalate to that, what would you feel about it? Like, would you feel comfortable doing something? What do you feel? And we both said that if somehow it was to happen, we think we would be okay like moving forward in a sexual situation with them.
Yeah. We even said that it would be okay to have like a full swap sex session.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I don't think we knew it was called full swap. We just knew that like, oh, okay, like I would have sex with him and you would have sex with her.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
But full swap sex session is the actual scientific name.
I know that now, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I still mess it up. Sometimes I'll be talking about it and I'll say full sex.
It's like
He's like, full sex? What are you talking about?
And it's all good. It means the same thing,
Yeah,
right?
They'll get
Right.
the gist. They'll get the gist.
So basically we were eating at Cheesecake Factory in the hotel in Vegas. And I said, we said the whole thing about we were open to something happening, and we met back up with them, and they're like, because they had come back. And so basically
To our hotel room.
And they're like, hey, we can hang out for like a couple hours. Then we have to go somewhere else, but then we can come back again. It was like a bunch of in and out little things because of some family friends or something they had. And so we were all just drinking in our hotel room. And then I don't know how it started, but Bella, you and the other girl started kissing and like taking each other's clothes off.
Yeah.
Do you remember how it started? Because I just remember looking over and it was happening. And
I feel like it just progressed naturally.
yeah,
I think that there was just like flirtiness going on, and we just started kissing and then continued to take each other's clothes off. But it was only us, and you guys were just watching.
mm-hmm.
And I think he even took some photos. Yeah,
I don't remember doing that.
or maybe he took the photos. I'm sure we have them, but like that was even so crazy for us too. But I think they had to go meet up with their friends, and then they were gonna come back. So then I always mess this part. I can't like remember exactly how this part goes.
So basically what happened next was we were so like turned on just by me seeing her and her doing stuff with the girl for the first time, really more than just, I guess, kissing. So we had sex, and then they came back like an hour and a half after that, and they knocked on our door, and we ended up having same room sex with them that night. And I kissed her, and I said that was the first time I had ever kissed anybody else. So it was such a whirlwind. Everything was just happening so fast, but we were enjoying everything.
Yeah, and in a good way.
Yeah. It felt very natural the way it was progressing.
And they had been together since they were in high school too. It was really crazy how similar their story was to ours. So we just clicked, and everything was just, it felt so good, like normal, and it felt so right.
Yeah.
I feel like.
And so we had all this fun, and we were both like kind of the broke college kid type thing at that time.
As in both couples.
Yeah, both couples. Yeah. And we both had driven there, and it was summer, so we didn't have school or anything like that. So we both were like, hey, I'd be willing to put up like $50 if we can split a hotel room somewhere. We got like $100 between the two of us if you guys want to do that, and see what happens tomorrow. Because at this point it was really late at night. And I mean, that was just kind of what we threw out there. And they said we were thinking something along the same lines. And you and her ended up booking a hotel room for the next night.
Mm-hmm.
Go into that story.
So it ended up, we were pretty tipsy whenever I booked the hotel. Ended up, I put my name, but your card number, or vice versa, something like that. And we weren't married at this point yet, so we didn't have the same last name or anything. And so we went to Treasure Island was where we booked the hotel, got there, tried to check in, didn't know that this was EDC weekend, which is Electric Daisy Carnival. It's the biggest rave event in
I think
Vegas.
North America.
Yeah. And so we had no idea. I was like, why are there so many people here? Why is it so busy? I've been to Vegas a gazillion times. I don't understand. Why is everybody dressed like this? And so then we get there, try to check in. We can't check in, and they say they canceled our reservation because of the name thing. So we were like, fuck. And so then we were trying to figure out what to do, because we still really, both us and them still wanted to make this happen. And so then we were on our phones trying to find any hotel room. And of course they're all booked because it's EDC weekend. And so we end up finding a room at the Riviera because we didn't want to spend like a ton because we were broke.
Yep, no judgment here.
The Riviera is not nice. I mean,
it was one of the earlier hotels, I think, built on the Strip.
I think it was the first.
I mean, it was pretty old. It's actually, I think, torn down now because no one was staying there. Because I remember, so we booked that hotel, and I remember getting there, and our room overlooked the pool, if you want to call it that. But it was just like a pool that was empty but filled with like garbage. And I so clearly remember, I was like, this is the most unsexy feeling thing in the entire world.
And we had all of our luggage with us, and it was just not a fun day.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out, but we still wanted to make this happen. Both couples still wanted to. Like, that's how excited we were for this, that we went to this disgusting hotel and still ended up doing stuff. So
yeah, and we started drinking there.
Yeah, we took a nap. And
we all took a nap because
got rested.
Just so tired.
We were like, okay, let's drink and just kind of see where things go. And then
things went.
It escalated again pretty quickly. I can't remember the exact, detailed details, but I know we ended up on separate beds because you were with her on a separate bed. I was with him. And then we started making out and you guys were kissing and we were doing foreplay stuff separately. And then I look over and then me and the guy I was with was like, are you guys fucking? And you guys were. And so then that's how that happened. And so then I had sex with him and then we were full swapping for a little while. And then we took a break and then we did it again. And so that was our first experience. So like, it's crazy that we went from straight, not even knowing what are swingers, what is, I still at this point didn't know what the lifestyle was, into straight full swapping with another couple who also didn't know what any of that was.
And it was all in like 72 hours.
Yeah, I was going to say that you met in a topless pool at a different hotel. And yeah, that's just crazy. I love the dedication
I was going to say that too.
Because this is totally us. Like, everything is pointing to like, this is a disaster. And we're like, no, just because the pool's filled with garbage doesn't mean that we can't get into the room and have a good time. So like, yeah, no, you're speaking our language. We're on board.
I'm just really relieved to hear that it went well.
Yeah.
Because in our experience, we would have done all that and then had a disaster.
Yeah.
No, I'm really glad it went well too.
Yeah, good.
So you two had like talked roughly about what would be allowed, what wouldn't be allowed, and it sounds like maybe they had talked loosely about that as well. I think it's an interesting like perspective, right? A lot of times when we talk to people who are going to plan to, who are talking about swinging or doing something, they lay out every possible scenario and they lay out all the rules, and then they have all these rules that they have to follow. And you guys were like, are you having sex? Like, I don't even know what's going on over there. And I find that fascinating and interesting, like that it worked for you too. And I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was going to say, we did talk to them and we had both said that we were open to, like, we didn't know full swapping, but having sex. So it's not like I just started fucking her. Like, we knew that we were going to get there.
We had talked about it already.
So we were all comfortable with that. But we had also said that our relationship has always been like at the forefront of what's important through all of this and something for us to enjoy together. And we had said that because our relationship I always thought was great. I didn't need anything else. We thought this would be something else fun in addition. And we said, if we do something like this and this is weird or uncomfortable or whatever it is, let's try. We would say we would just completely forget about it and like never talk about it again and just go back to that point. So we had that mindset going in that hopefully this is something we enjoy, but if not, we're not going to let it affect our relationship.
And at that point, we didn't even know we were going to want to do it more. It was more not an experiment, but just we wanted to know what it was like to have sex with another person. And that's really all it was at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't until after we were done and it was the next day and it was such a great experience. And we liked that couple so much. And then because we had a almost 24-hour drive back home. So we had a lot of time to talk and we had a lot of time to talk before that too, because it was a long drive there. But that's whenever we were able to really get in more into how it made us feel, which was still to this day, I think, crazy how it makes us feel closer having sexual relationships with other people. But
yeah, that kind of blew my mind as well, because we were both kind of trying to describe how we felt about the situation to each other, and we both got down to the base point of somehow having sex with somebody else made me love you more, which the more I think about it now, it makes more sense to me just because of that. You realize how much you love the other person. But at that point, it blew my mind to think that how can I feel closer to somebody after doing something like that with somebody else? And it was just such an interesting dynamic. But we both at the end of the day, we're like, hey, I would love to do that again if you would love to do that again.
yeah. And the other couple, they were similar too, because we had talked about as a group what we were thinking that we wanted to do. And they also hadn't, I think they were each other's first everything too. Or if anything, they hadn't done anything with anyone else in a really long time as well. So it just happened to mesh perfectly.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, just that whole first experience was such a positive experience, and that's really cool. How did you move forward after that?
So we had that long car ride. That's whenever we were able to really talk in detail about it. That's when I started looking up more like, are we swingers? What is a swinger? And then we saw that there were clubs, like more than just, because the swingers club in Vegas, I think I don't know, is it different than the other ones? But anyways, I thought there were clubs closer to where we lived. Like at that point, I thought maybe it was just in Vegas. And so we lived at the time in Oklahoma. And then we were able to, I think I looked into websites. Yeah. So we were on the car ride. I was like, oh, there's websites and there's clubs and there's this and this. And so we made an account on Adult Friend Finder as a couple. And then we looked into Colette, Dallas, because that was the closest club to us at that time.
That was at least like a big club. There's a couple like smaller clubs in Oklahoma City, but it didn't seem like the same scale to us from our research online anyway.
Yeah. And so that's how we were able to open up and be like, oh, like maybe let's try to meet other people online who maybe want to do the kind of same thing. And then we'll try going to Colette and seeing what a swingers club is like. And everything progressed from there.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like obviously it left a positive impact if on the way home you're trying to find more ways to do it.
Yeah, right?
Which is amazing.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It really was that kind of experience that I think that we both had this hope of it going really smoothly and really well, because I think we both wanted to enjoy it. And I think we were both just so happy that we were able to enjoy it together, and it did go as smoothly. Because I mean, we've had other things we've tried, and sometimes they don't always go as smoothly. So I was really happy when it kind of worked out the way it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's awesome. So I guess that kind of leads to my next follow-up question, which is, where are you at today? So like you dove into the swinging world and you got all the information, you went to some clubs, and where are you at now?
So now we've been in lifestyle for 6 years. We are full swap, I guess situational. We don't do that all the time or anything, but maybe you should keep talking.
We're full swap, and it's situational. No,
I was like, how much more do we say from this? I mean, we had quite a few experiences, and not all of them have been great.
We do generally, we always, or at least so far, we've done everything together.
Okay,
we've talked about, going maybe like on separate dates or things like that. And we're not opposed to that idea, but for us so far, it's been so much about enjoying those moments together. Now, we have been to orgies and things where we're very comfortable with, if things are going on like in the same room with other people, it's not like we have to be right next to each other the entire time, and we enjoy that. But so far, we've just liked making sure the two of us were always somewhere around. And that's what's kind of made us feel the most comfortable, and we've got the most enjoyment out of that.
Yeah.
And then we started a podcast so we could talk about everything. And that's where we're at now. We made a game because we like trying to have some kind of icebreaker. And so we made games for ourselves to play with our friends and the parties that we go to. And then that developed into making a game that we can have for everyone in the lifestyle. And so that's where we're at now.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the things, and I want to circle back and like, we'll talk about the podcast and the game in a little bit for sure. What are some of the things that you two have maybe learned about yourselves or learned or seen like growth
in the other person
in each other throughout this, 6 years of exploring this together?
Confidence for sure.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, because we were not confident at all at the very beginning, and seeing how confident we are now in ourselves, I think that's a big one.
I think that part of that confidence, at least I can speak for me here, is being with one person since you're 15. I never really went through that thing of, dating people. And so before we started doing more lifestyle stuff, I personally struggled with feeling attractive about myself. And I think part of that came from I had never got any sort of like proof that anyone else thought I was attractive. And I didn't know if she loved me because I was not the cutest kid when we started dating. And so I knew she loved me for me. And I know that changes your perception of how you see people. So there was part of me that struggled just not knowing if other people really found me attractive. And I think that being in a lifestyle and I guess seeing that other people did find me attractive that weren't just someone who loved me, that was a huge thing in my growth as far as my confidence and how I see myself. So that's changed my life and just being more happy about who I am.
Communication for sure. Mm-hmm. We communicate. I mean, we've always been able to communicate really well, but when you're in the lifestyle, a lot of different situations pop up, and we've been able to work through those really well and be able to talk more that way too.
I think it's also taught us in some ways when we communicate certain things to almost like step back before we start to go down a path of maybe arguing or something. And that goes, whether it's lifestyle or normal, like regular everyday life, that being able to talk through those things, I feel like has given us a chance to almost stop issues before they become issues, just because we kind of had to learn. I guess we haven't had to learn, but we just have learned to really be thoughtful about the things that we say to each other and really try to make sure that we never, step on each other's toes and we're always polite to each other.
Yeah. And we're a lot more, I feel like after an experience, we become so much closer too. And so our relationship has just been stronger. Our sex drive is stronger. And what else have we learned? I feel like we've learned so much. It's hard to like put them all.
Narrow it down. Yeah. I mean, I think those are kind of the biggest takeaways. I'm sure there's been tons of like little takeaways throughout that I'm not thinking of right now.
Oh, it's made us more, I mean, we're outgoing to begin with, but I'm still working towards it, but being in the lifestyle is helping me grow and be more being able to talk to people more, and being like the first one to go talk to somebody, like introducing myself first rather than like staying here and like waiting for people to come to me. That's something that the lifestyle has helped me as well. Just be able to talk to people more.
Yeah, that's a big one, because that's something that, for us, we would often, the first quite a few years that we were doing this, we would go to a club or a bar or whatever, and we would just be terrified to go talk to people. And so, yeah, once you start to like realize that like everybody or most people want to talk, but they're all afraid to talk. And so like being that person to like take that first step, you can really break down some powerful walls by doing that. So I like that.
Sure.
I think also that I read a book and it was talking about this like Japanese saying of basically every single moment only happens one time in your life, whether it's good or bad. And so every moment is beautiful. And I think that helped me kind of all that same thing that Bella was saying about going and talking to people, because I've never talked to somebody and then regretted talking to them. Because, I mean, it doesn't matter if something happens or whatever you're doing. It's just having that communication is always, to me, better than not. And so I feel like through the lifestyle, especially, because sometimes you'll go to a club, and you'll see a couple and you never see them again. And it's, 6 years later and you're like, I wonder where they went. I wish I would have said hi that time. Mm-hmm. And so that being able to just go up and say hello to anybody and I'm not like scared of somebody not wanting to talk to me or whatever it is, because nothing's personal. It's just trying to make new friendships and meet new people.
And that helps socially outside of the lifestyle too, and business wise, and just it's a good skill that we've developed and because of the lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a fantastic takeaway. Thank you so much for adding that in there too. Yeah. How have you two handled sexual and physical health going through all of this with the lifestyle?
So I would say, I guess the first thing, I think regular testing is always like an important thing for any couple, but then
you're doing stuff with other people.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
And then we always use condoms. That's one of our, major rules is always doing that. And then, I think some of the time too, I just think that it comes down to a little bit also trusting the people that you're around and, kind of getting to know people a little bit and seeing how you feel with those people. And I don't want to say making a judgment off of that, but that comfort level just of kind of knowing a little bit who you're talking to has made us feel more comfortable as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And one thing you said back a few minutes ago was that like your communication has gotten better when you've come up against things that have been challenging or difficult. Would you be able and willing to maybe take us through one of those challenges that you two worked through together? Because I know it's fun to focus on all the fun, sexy stuff, but like maybe there's an experience that you two learned something from that might be useful for people.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's tons. There's definitely a roller coaster.
Yeah. I think that the biggest one, at least in my opinion, has been whenever we first started, I had this, I feel like, misconception of, I felt like it was more the girl's job to go break the ice, if you want to call it that, because I was like, oh, well, if girls talk, it's less intimidating or whatever. And I had that idea in my head. And so we had a lot of times where we would get into arguments because I would kind of push Bella to go talk to somebody because she said she would want to, but then it put this unfair pressure on her to have to go make that first initial contact, which is not always easy. As much as you want it to be, it's still hard. And so we got in, a couple arguments about that where I was pushing her because I thought I was helping, but I didn't realize how much stress I was putting on her. And that's one of the things that we had to work through, where now we'll kind of, if there's a couple we want to talk to, maybe it's like, hey, should we go talk to them? And if she doesn't want to and I don't want to, then you know what, neither one of us does. Or maybe some days I'm like, hey, I don't mind going talk to them. Or some days she says, I'll go talk to them. And so that's one of the biggest ones that I feel like we've worked through, is making sure that no one feels any unneeded pressure, and that we're both kind of, because it's something we're doing with each other and to enjoy together. So it shouldn't ever be on one person to make something happen. It should be both of us going and talking. And so,
yeah. And whenever you say like we both go, like one person says like the initial thing first, we do both walk over there together. Oh, yeah. It was just at the beginning, it was like, oh, like I have to say, oh, like I'm Bella and this is Jase. Da, 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 da. And then another thing is, whenever we first got into the lifestyle, we thought that every time that we went and did something needed to happen. So we had this expectation every single time we went to a club or whenever we would meet somebody, and then we would try to make something happen, even though that's not how it goes and how it should go.
And I think that part of that possibly stemmed from our first experience going so smoothly and just falling in our lap. And then the first time that we went to Colette, we ended up doing stuff with some people. And so everything those first few times just rolled out so like, it was almost like a red carpet, like, oh, look how easy this is. And so I think that, especially since we were so young, I was like, oh, well, we're paying to go to this place and that's part of the experience that we're hoping for. And I said, we did get in like arguments about that because neither one of us was like, I don't want to say we were there for the wrong reason, but I think that we didn't realize like the beauty of this whole thing was us enjoying it together. And so now, you know, we go someplace and it's, if nothing happens, great. Like if something happens, great. It's awesome because we get to spend time with each other.
And we just get to meet people and we make new friends. And at the beginning of everything, it was all about like sex. And we didn't have those, we weren't searching for those friendships or relationships in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, those are the main, like really big two things.
I would agree for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that second one for sure is something that I think when people are new, it's like, well, yeah, something has to happen.
Right.
And I think you see that amplified even more. Like, let's say it's a couple with a baby or a kid and they like get out of the house once a month or once every 2 months. And then it's like, well, look, we got a babysitter and we're doing we paid to go to the club. And like, you know, you're in a couple of $100 for the night and you're like, well, we better make something happen. And then that kind of pressure can really be tough on an evening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And it makes it not fun. And we've had a lot of nights end badly because of that. And then that even goes into then why didn't you like talk to them if you wanted to make something happen, and like those kinds of fights.
Mm-hmm. And then I think that's where it came back to, I think, talking about the communication, because I feel like now it's, you know, like that, like things were so much harder whenever we first got into it. And then so as we've grown over these last 6 years and that communication has just been like fine tuned so much, I feel like it's so much more of a rarity for us to argue about things, especially lifestyle wise. But I said it's also helped so much in just normal everyday life of having that communication's gotten so much better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting how, you know, skills that you learn and doing something that is maybe less mainstream, like can be applied for now, right? Can be applied throughout your whole life, right? Like in the whole, like all areas of your life.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. At the beginning of or before I think we started recording, you said that you're pretty open about who you are. And I was curious, are you out and open with your friends and family about explorations and non-monogamy?
Not with our family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that stays no.
Yeah.
The friends that we have now, no, pretty much. I mean, it's not like we go out and tell everybody that we meet, like, hey, we're swingers. But I mean, if it comes up, then, you know, we'll talk more about it. And
we're very open people in general. And so I think that sometimes we come off that way a little bit sometimes, I guess, because we have had multiple friends ask us like, hey, do you guys do, like, you know, like they've like kind of like tried to word those questions. So I think that we're very, and we've always been so comfortable. We have, I want to say, more friends that are girls than guys as a general rule. And it's always just been that very easy communication there. And so I think that we come off kind of just open to things in general.
And because we've been together for so long, so we went not only to elementary school, but we graduated college in the same class with the same degree and in the same program, which was pretty female dominated. And then so everyone being able to see that there was no jealousy between us to even begin with. And then we do photography together as well, like boudoir photography, glamour photography, and then models would come and like see our connection and how our communication is and everything. So the people that we surround ourselves with, they can kind of already tell. And so it's easy for us to just to say that.
We've also met most of our friends, I want to say, through the internet, through like social media and things like that. And a lot of them have been, you know, through modeling or things like that as well. And so I think a lot of people that we just surround ourselves with are really open-minded people. And then we meet a lot of our friends through friends. And so I think that a lot of it goes back to just the people we surround ourselves with are very open. And so I feel like I also like to be open around the people that I'm with. I like being around like-minded people.
Yeah. And I mean, now we'll even wear like upside down pineapple hats just out and about. And with our podcasts and stuff now, it's just, I feel like it's just out. And so, and it's almost like a weight off our shoulders, I feel like. Although, I mean, our family doesn't know. So
Yeah, but I keep the weight of my family not knowing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would hope that, if family finds out, they'll just not bring it up. Like, you don't have to talk about it.
And I will say, whenever we were in college, not very many people knew because we weren't really that open about it then. And we were just so nervous about people judging us or whatever it was. And I remember like telling the first person that wasn't a lifestyle person that we did something like this, and they were like, "Oh, that's cool." And I was like, "Oh shit, maybe people don't really care as much as I think they do." And then over time, most people have responded that way. And also I've gotten to the point where I just don't really care because I'm happy with who I am. And if you don't want to be around me because of that choice I make, that's not really hurting anybody else, and we're happy, then I don't know if that's kind of really the person I want to surround myself with anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of a weeding mechanism. You weed out all the people who, like, if they're going to judge you for that, then they can go find someone else to hang out with.
Exactly. Good riddance.
Yeah.
Love it.
And okay, I was going to move into their podcast.
Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt you if you had another question.
Well, yeah, before we do, I wanted to maybe see, you've kind of shared a little bit of a blooper in the garbage pool story, but if there was, over the last 6 years, have there been any other maybe funny or lighthearted mishaps that you've had along the way that you'd be willing to share? And then we'll happily jump in, and we want to hear about the podcast and the game and all the other things that you two are creating.
So this one's more like embarrassing on my part, but so I wasn't on my period. It was like towards the end of it, and I had a tampon in, and I wasn't bleeding, but I just had a tampon in just in case. And we had been drinking, and we met a couple, and things were escalating. This was at a club, so we went straight into one of the rooms, and then she started going down on me, and then she was like, "Oh, babe, are you on your period?" I was like, "No," and then I was like, "Oh shit." And so then, I think I ran to the bathroom and then did whatever I needed to do, and then came back, and I was like, "Okay, I'm back. I'm not aware of you."
I just I wear these all the time.
Yeah, right.
That's funny. Yeah, I think that that's a funny one. Yeah, I like that one.
She was completely fine with it.
She was not phased whatsoever.
She's like, okay, yeah, no big deal.
Just move straight on.
I mean, even I'm imagining if that were to happen and I were to find like that, I would feel. I think it'd be like the same thing too, right? It's just like,
okay, it's life.
I think the main thing is like, I wouldn't want to go down on someone if they were on their period, So then, but it just wasn't, and I just don't know why I just left it in. I'm so stupid.
It hasn't happened again.
Yeah. I definitely make you. Even sometimes you're like, "Hey, you don't have a tampon."
You learn from your mistakes.
Exactly.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
That's amazing.
Do you mind sharing a little bit about your podcast and the game you created? We'd love to hear more about it.
Yeah, for sure. I'll talk more about the podcast. You talk more about the game. Okay. So we have a podcast, and we started it like, I don't know, 5 months ago, something like that. And we went back and we started from the very beginning, and we kind of talk about just our lifestyle experiences. We talk about, how we got into this. We talk about the mishaps, all of those things. And we don't go into like crazy detail, but we do kind of like talk our way through the experiences. We're not as much of like a how-to swing. We're more talking about what we've done and
like our experiences, our adventures,
and how we've grown. Like I said, like the bumps and stuff along the way and the growth along the way. So we basically went back and we started, chronologically, and we had a little black book. Actually, it was like a little black notebook that we had written down every experience and just like where it was and kind of like what happened, like an overview of what happened. And I'm really thankful we did, because then we were able to go back and film from the beginning what we've done lifestyle wise. And now, we're still catching up on all the old experiences. Because I said we had done it for 5.5 years before we kind of started filming these. And that's kind of where it's at now. It's just us talking about our sexual adventures.
And it's so fun because we get to relive those moments and being able to talk about it and being able to go back and listen. Because, I mean, it's cool that we're able to, of course, share it with everybody, but we did it more for ourselves to be able to listen back because it's like an audio diary, basically. And it's really cool that we're able to know what each other are thinking. And then, like, as things have been happening more, recently, like, we don't talk about the experiences right then. We'll wait until we podcast about it. And so then we're able to, like, have it forever because we'll talk about things and you forget. And so that's been really cool. And then our game, so we're really big. It's called 4OURPLAY, after the name of our podcast, number 4, OURPLAY. It's like it's a play on the word foreplay and foursome.
Yep.
And 4OURPLAY. So it's kind of like all those things.
We're going for the triple entendre on that.
It's efficient.
We've always been,
yes, like a Jase moment or something. A really deep meaning. That was the idea.
We've always been really big game people where we like icebreakers and we like things to, be fun and stuff. And we didn't know how to move things along. And so
we had done, the Jenga brick game thing where you write dares on a Jenga and play that. And just nothing to us ever felt like, it always felt like this kind of rocky transition when you could tell everyone wanted something to happen, but we didn't know how to really get there comfortably. And the games that we had tried to find just didn't feel complete to us. And being such big game people, we loved like Cards Against Humanity, things like that. And so we started off by making an actual physical card game to kind of be an icebreaker. And then we basically turned it into an all digital game that you can play like on a mobile device, so that you're able to, take it with you, because the deck of cards ended up being kind of, you don't want to take that to a club or, whatever. We wanted it to be accessible wherever you were.
Yeah.
And so May, you can talk a little bit about how the game works.
Yeah. So we have actually quite a few different games. There's the main game, which there's 9 different categories. So there's like a story time category, and there's an everyone category or a lucky you category. And so you'll pick a card, or the person will read the prompt. And for example, one will be like, if you masturbated today, take 2 sips. So you sit in a circle and you have your drink. And then if you've done that, then you take 2 sips. And there's other ones that are like, kiss the person across from you, or tell the person next to you your favorite feature of theirs.
All guys take your shirts off, things like that.
Yeah, so it's just meant to be a fun, lighthearted thing. And of course, consent for sure all the time. You got to ask all the time, and then drink responsibly. So we have those.
And then there's like an expansion pack that's more like dirty. And so we made one to really help if things are going smooth and you can tell everyone kind of wants to move forward. There's like a second little part, if you want to call it that. And those have some more dirty cards. Like, maybe it's like, feel up the person to your left or go down on the person to your right. I mean, everything is, whatever you want to do. But it was made to really move things kind of systematically from talking to, if you wanted something to happen, it could move that far.
And then we also have random ones like Pictionary. We have a dirty charades. We have dirty Never Have I Ever. And then one of the other favorite game that we have, other than this, the main game. Oh, and with the main game, there's a BDSM expansion pack and a college expansion pack and a vacation one. But we have a separate game called Conversations, and we really love that one. It has 4 different categories. There's self-perception. There's like a surface level one. There's an intimacy one. And then we have another one too.
And we spent just a long time writing all these questions. And most of the games are built more for that like group type stuff. You could probably play them by yourselves, but they're built more for that group type setting. And this conversation game is really built to help you connect with your partner. So there's a lot of, deep questions about, how did like how did a childhood trauma affect you to who you are today? So like some of the things get really deep and let you really go through, and it's kind of meant to ask a question that makes you ask more questions and just get to know your partner more, because that's one of our favorite things, is really having those, late nights when you're up till 4 a.m. just talking, because you just are obsessed with talking to the person you love. And so it was kind of built to get those deeper conversations started.
We even brought it with us this past weekend, it's on a phone, so you can bring it wherever you want. But this past weekend, whenever you're having dinner and you're like, oh, what should we talk about? Because when you go to dinner,
you focus on eating.
Yeah. So we started just playing our game, and we started doing the conversation game, and we were able to, just talk and answer questions. And even though we've answered the questions before, time has passed and our answers even changed. And so, yeah, we really love the game. And you can play it in a group setting too, or you can do it like truth or drink. If you don't want to answer the question, you drink, or if you don't want to answer the question, just don't answer it.
But we just wanted to have a bunch of like games that you could play lifestyle wise, because we just didn't feel like there was any out there that really encompassed everything that we wanted for games. And so we just thought it was really fun, and because that's what we wanted for ourselves. And then being able to put it out on a platform where anyone can access it anywhere in the world, it doesn't have to be like a physical thing that you have to ship, I thought just made it easier. So
no, totally. Thank you so much for doing all of that. Like I knew about the game. We haven't played it yet. We're going to, but I didn't quite realize there were so many expansion packs. And like you were saying those, and I was like, whoa, like there's way more than I thought. So that's really, really cool. And we're excited to get the word out and hopefully have more people come and try it out.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. And thanks for checking it out too and asking about it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And links to all of it will be in the show notes, everything you just talked about.
Without a doubt. And are there any other things that we haven't talked about that you two are hoping to maybe cover or share with us tonight?
I think you covered it. You guys are professionals. You know all the questions.
Everything is just so it's always so seamless. It's just so good.
Well, you two were very helpful with all of that. We didn't have to interrupt you very much. It was just like a flow. So
it worked perfect. So I have a very invasive question, and feel free to not answer it. But
okay, go for it.
When you two got together, you were your first everything. What are your current? So when you started swinging, it was one partner for each of you, and it was each other. Do you know, and you don't have to share if you don't want to, but do you know what your current number is for each of you of people that you've now been with? You said you kept a little black book, so that the reason I thought of this was your little black book.
Yeah. Say the exact number, but you should say what you think every time that you get.
Okay, so I mean, it's so stupid. I don't know. I've always been this way, so I'll give you this answer instead. So we're big travel people too. Normally, whenever there's not a pandemic, and so every time that I get off an airplane or I get off a cruise ship or whatever, and I step foot in a new country, I'm like, damn, I've been in 20 countries. And this sounds so bad, but every time that we end up having sex with somebody, it's not like I'm thinking about it the whole time, but as soon as I have sex with that person, that is the first thought is I'm like, I've been with this many people, right in that second, and then it goes away. And that's such a stupid thing, but that's a quirky thing. Yeah. So I do that.
I don't remember how many. I don't keep track, but I will say, because I'm bisexual and I do stuff with women, it's maybe twice as much as yours.
Love it.
It's not, no judgment.
No judgment at all. I was just purely curious, but it was a perfect answer.
Are you going to answer?
Yeah, you guys. Yeah, right.
I can give you an answer. You give me an answer.
I'm not answering that question.
I will say far less than 100.
Okay. Yeah. I'll agree with that. I can give you that much for sure.
Far less.
And I'll also say that I specifically have kept track of it.
Yeah, we have notes.
But you wouldn't have if I didn't.
No. That's very true.
So I wouldn't have if you didn't. I feel like.
Yeah. Well, we used to have journals that were full of bucket list. And then we had our little black book. And then this is embarrassing too. But we still have it, I guess. We have like a bucket list of like things that we hope would happen lifestyle wise. And so we still go through sometimes and like we'll cross things off. And it's like, oh, we had that experience. And so we still have the same journal and we'll still update it with all the lifestyle stuff. And it's like 6 years old. And it has like bucket list from when we were in high school of like things we wanted to do in the summers. And it's just the same journal that's just
funny
kept going.
That's amazing.
I love it.
I don't think that's embarrassing at all. Like, I think that's really cool.
Well, if you read like the things that we want, like were bucket list items for us when we were in high school, like, I mean, it was like
watching Pokemon on a sunny day.
Like it was like, and then like you go to the back and it's like, oh, we want to go to an orgy.
Yeah.
Like, and so like, it's just this huge, like, between those two things.
I love it. Yeah. Mine was always like buy a jet ski. And I was actually talking with my best friend about this a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, why would we ever waste our money on a jet ski? And so we're just like, we're both so cheap now that we're like, buying a jet ski is like the absolute last thing we would ever do. But no judgment to any jet ski owners.
That's just not where you're at right now.
No. And after my jet ski accident,
one day, come on,
maybe one day you can have that jet ski.
You know what?
Never
If
know.
I win the lottery, then I'll buy you a set of jet skis, whatever you want forever.
A matching pair.
Yeah.
love it.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So, awesome. Well, it has been a delight chatting with you two. Thank you for coming on, for all the work you're doing. And we'll put links to everything you've done in the show notes. And we'll let you have a great evening.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
And thank you guys so much for having us. We had so much fun.
It was so
Absolutely.
fun. Yep, thank you so much.
And we're back. Thank you so much, Bella and Jase, for reaching out to us, for the amazing work that you do and putting your story out there. And it's also just being vulnerable and sharing with us. You know, they've been through quite the journey, and it was amazing to share.
And we forgot to say this in the intro, so I guess...
my gosh!
If you stuck around to the outro, you get a little bonus, and we'll say it next week at the beginning of the show.
We will.
Sorry, Belle and Jase. If you want to save 10% on their entire website, all of the different games and merchandise they have, you can use the code capital NNM, as in normalizing non-monogamy.
Yes.
And thank you.
And their
in advance.
website is the number 4OURPLAY.com, but links are in the show notes.
Yeah, so we'll mention that again at the beginning of next week because we forgot at the beginning of this week. Anywho, yeah, thank you again, Bella and Jase, for all the work and all the great stuff you're putting out there.
Mm-hmm. And before we let you go, we do just want to do a quick reminder and information, I guess, about our Patreon. So if you're looking for community, we have an amazing community. We're so thankful to all over 160 members that are part of this community. We have a monthly Q&A, which we call Q&As, but they're just discussions.
It's a time for people to come together. If they're working through something or they have an issue, they can just talk about it with a group of other people. There's usually 10 to 15, sometimes 20 other people on these calls, and everybody's just super supportive. One of our favorite things to do each month is jump on these calls, and we love them.
And our next ones are going to be April 28th. It's a Wednesday. We have one at 9 p.m. Eastern and another one at 9 p.m. Pacific. So just put that on your calendar. Come join us. We also have men's and women's groups. We have separate men's and women's chats as well as calls. And those calls are going to be on April 20th for the men's group and April 21st for the women's group. We do want to just note that we are working on rebranding these a little bit because we know the names men's and women's groups aren't as inclusive as we'd like them to be, but we also want to provide those safe spaces. So,
however, the groups are inclusive. We've had non-binary people join.
Yes.
And we've gotten some really great feedback from them that they felt super safe. This was like they said, normally I don't talk and speak up in these things, but they were super engaged and super just loving it and getting involved. And so
while the names may not be as inclusive as we meet, the groups are very inclusive.
Yeah. So huge thank you to the people in these groups for making these spaces safe. This is not a thing that Emma and I do. This is everybody who shows up. So thank you to everybody who does that. That's amazing.
Yes. And then finally, we also have a group MeWe chat for our Patreon members. It's also amazing, if I can't say it enough, where people shoot the shit and also come and bring really difficult topics too. So it's fun and also can be serious too. So anyway, all of that to say, if you wanted to check it out, go to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, and click on the Patreon button.
And we'll see you there. Try it out for a month. If you don't like it, you can go ahead and cancel. We don't get offended.
No, we do not.
But if you love it, you can sign up for a year and save a bunch of money.
Yep, they can do that too.
All right. With that, we've got an interview, I suppose, next week.
Next Wednesday, we have an interview with Axel. It's actually amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. It takes me back to the days when I used to live in Germany.
I know.
I'm a sucker for the German sense of humor, and I'm excited for next one. We had a great conversation.
Yeah, and he finds this balance between swinging and polyamory and BDSM, and I don't know. You'll just have to tune in next week.
Everything. So thank you in advance, Axel. We'll see you in a week, and have a great Wednesday, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.